Welcome to Breaking News to Trading Moves. Today we're looking at a specific policy announcement really focused on the future of coal here in the U.S. It seems to outline a pretty clear path for extending the sector's operational life. The core of it is this plan to, well, support coal output. There's a spending piece for modernization and also new land access.
That's right. And it's quite specific. We're talking about $625 million. That money's earmarked directly for upgrading existing coal power plants, trying to keep them running longer.
And the land part.
Yeah, also significant. 13.1 million acres of public land being opened up for potential new coal mining.
Okay. And this isn't happening in a vacuum, right? There's context here.
Absolutely vital context. Power demand is climbing fast. A big driver everyone's talking about is AI data centers, huge energy consumers running constantly. So this policy push seems linked to needing reliable, available power now, baseload power.
Right. So our goal here is to trace how this policy might redirect money and, fuel flows across the energy sector. We'll lay out the companies that seem positioned to benefit directly, the winners, and then the groups that might face some new challenges. The losers, so to speak. Let's start with those immediate beneficiaries. Coal miners and producers seem first in line. They get this direct policy support, right? New land access, plus their main customers, the power plants get a longer lifespan.
Exactly. It's kind of the best of both worlds for them. They get potential future supply from that new land, and maybe more critically, more certainty about near-term demand because those plants aren't shutting down as soon as expected.
So that stability could mean selling more tons, maybe getting better prices.
Potentially, yes.
Okay.
Higher throughput, maybe more pricing power down the line. It gives them a clearer runway.
Okay, for listeners tracking this space, which companies are we watching? The ones really set up to gain here.
Based on operations in key regions, you'd be looking at Peabody Energy, ticker BTU, also CONSOL Energy, that's CEIX, and Alliance Resource Partners, ticker ARLP. These guys definitely have a clearer path forward now than they did maybe a few months ago.
Okay, moving beyond the mines.
Yeah.
The next link in the chain is logistics. Railroads.
Yep, railroads with coal exposure.
This seems pretty straightforward. Utilities need more coal, the railroads ship it.
Right, more tons moving across the network. And remember, for some of these rail lines, especially in the East, coal has historically been a pretty good business, high-margin bulk commodity.
So any sustained increase in coal shipments is a positive for their freight operations.
Definitely. It provides a boost, especially if other freight types are maybe a bit volatile.
So if this policy leads to steady orders, the names to watch are CSX.
CSX, ticker CSX, yes. Norfolk Southern, ticker NSC. And maybe Union Pacific, too, ticker UNP. It's really a volume play for these big networks.
Okay, makes sense. Now let's look at who's actually using the coal, the power generators.
Right, the coal-heavy power generators. They're the ones directly getting that $625 million for upgrades.
And that money is specifically for modernizing the plants, right? Like improving environmental controls, wastewater systems, that sort of thing.
Exactly. And that investment has a couple of key effects. It can extend the actual life of the plant, improve how often and how reliably it runs, and, importantly, potentially defer those planned retirement dates.
You mentioned reliability. That ties into this term capacity factor we hear sometimes. Can you break that down simply? Why is it so important for these plants?
Sure. Capacity factor is basically just a percentage. It's how much power a plant actually generated over a time period compared to the absolute maximum it could have generated running flat out 24/7.
Okay, so higher is better.
Much better. A good, reliable coal plant might hit, say, 80%, 85%. If it's aging, needs maintenance, that number drops, and when it drops, the plant isn't earning its keep.
So this new funding helps them keep that number high, run more often, make more money.
Precisely. It helps stabilize or even improve that capacity factor. Means the plant runs more, generates more revenue, and, crucially, pushes back that retirement date maybe by several years.
So essentially, we're investing in extending the useful life of assets that were maybe heading towards retirement. That changes their financial picture.
It absolutely does. So the generators that rely heavily on coal and could use these funds effectively. You're looking at companies like Vistra, ticker VST, NRG Energy, ticker NRG, and American Electric Power, AEP.
Okay, that covers the traditional energy side getting a boost. Now we need to flip the coin. Who faces headwinds or maybe slower growth because of this focus on coal?
Well, the first group likely feeling some pressure is the utility-scale solar and wind developers.
How so? Does this directly stop new projects?
Not directly stop them, but think about it. If those existing coal plants slow down their retirement plans, the utility that owns them suddenly feels less urgent about needing brand new power generation right away.
So if a utility planned to retire a coal plant next year, they needed a replacement, maybe a big solar farm lined up.
Exactly. They'd be working on signing a long-term contract, a power purchase agreement, or PPA.
But now, if they get funds to keep that coal plant running for, say, 5 more years,
That urgency to sign the PPA today, it kind of evaporates, doesn't it? The need gets pushed out.
and that delay hits the developers' plans, their project pipelines.
Right. It weighs on their revenue forecasts, their backlog expectations.
Which companies are most exposed here to this potential slowdown in utility decisions?
Companies heavily involved in large-scale renewables projects. Think Nexter Energy, ticker NEE, First Solar, FSLR, especially on the utility side, and Clearway Energy, ticker CWEN. They could see procurement cycles stretch out a bit.
Okay, what about the other side of solar, residential rooftop solar?
Yeah, the residential and distributed solar segment, it's a slightly different dynamic. The federal incentives for homeowners might still be there, but a broader policy signal favoring legacy coal can still have an effect.
How does that work? If my local incentives are the same, why would the administration favoring coal impact rooftop solar growth?
It's more about overall sentiment, maybe financing conditions, and what's sometimes called attach rates.
But attach rates.
Yeah, like how often someone getting solar panels also adds a battery storage system or other upgrades that are often higher margin for the installer. If the market senses the big energy transition timeline is stretching out, or maybe utility bills don't rise as fast because coal stays cheaper for longer, consumers might feel, a little less urgency to pay extra for those premium systems right now.
So it's less direct, more about psychology, a potential deceleration.
Kind of, yeah, it could soften growth expectations.
Okay, so for that segment, the companies facing those potentially softer expectations would be Enphase Energy, ticker ENPH.
Yes, and Sunrun, ticker RUN. Also Sonova, ticker NOVA. It's more about potentially tempering those growth metrics.
Got it. One more category of potential losers.
Yes, the technology's really focused on replacing baseload power longer term, grid battery storage, and the hydrogen narratives. They face what's sometimes called rotation risk.
Rotation risk. Okay, explain that. How does keeping coal plants alive longer hurt technologies meant to replace them eventually?
Think of it this way. If a utility gets, say, 5 extra years out of its coal plant, that's potentially 5 years later that they absolutely need your big grid battery solution or your hydrogen system for backup power.
Ah, okay. So investors were betting on coal retiring sooner, creating immediate demand for these new techs.
Exactly. A rapid retirement schedule implies a huge, urgent need for replacement technologies. If that schedule slows down, the expected adoption curve for batteries for hydrogen gets pushed further out into the future.
And that future delay can hurt the stocks now.
Often, yes. Investors re-rate the timelines. It puts pressure on those adoption curves.
So it's not that the policy kills the innovation, but it props up the incumbent, delaying the need for the replacement.
That's a good way to put it.
And the companies here are.
Well, for storage, you look at Tesla, specifically its energy storage business, ticker TSLA. And in the hydrogen space, Plug Power, ticker PLUG, and Bloom Energy, BE. They might see timelines for large-scale deployment face some headwinds.
Okay, that lays out the potential winners and losers pretty clearly.
Yeah.
Now, for people watching this play out, what should they track? What are the key data points to monitor to see if this policy is actually having the intended effects?
We can point to 3 specific things to watch. First, track the physical volumes. Coal, rail, carloads, and spot prices.
Why carloads specifically? Is that the best measure?
It's one of the most direct measures of actual physical demand. If generators are really running these plants longer, harder, they have to order more coal. The number of tons shipped by rail should reflect that.
So if those volumes, and maybe spot prices, start ticking up or stay firm.
That would tend to validate the idea that demand for the fuel itself is being sustained or extended by the policy.
Okay, number 2.
Second, listen closely to what the utilities themselves say in their guidance.
Back to those capacity factors.
Exactly. Look for management commentary, especially after they get these modernization funds. Are they guiding to higher, more reliable capacity factors for their coal fleet?
If they sound more confident about running those plants more hours per year.
That suggests the investment is working as intended, supporting the policy's goal. validates the thesis for those generator stocks too.
Makes sense. And the third angle.
Third, watch the other side, the renewables sales cycle. Monitor commentary from solar companies about their backlogs.
Looking for signs of those delays we talked about? Utilities pushing back decisions?
Precisely. If solar developers, particularly the ones focused on big utility projects, start mentioning a softness in signing new contracts or specific project timelines getting pushed out, and they link that back to utilities delaying decisions because their existing plants are running longer. That's pretty clear evidence.
Evidence that the coal extension is displacing some near-term renewable demand.
Yes, it connects the dots directly.
Okay, that's a really practical set of indicators. So just to quickly recap the core tension here, you've got this $625 million initiative plus the 13.1 million acres for mining. This policy seems to offer immediate support for traditional energy players, the miners, the rails, the coal generators. But at the same time, it creates headwinds, or at least a slower environment, for renewables and some of those next-gen energy storage and hydrogen plays.
That sums it up well. And maybe a final thought for listeners to consider. Think about how much rising energy demand, especially from new sources like AI, is influencing these decisions. That sheer need for reliable power seems to be actively shaping policy, shaping where capital flows often back towards existing proven infrastructure, even while newer solutions are developing.
All right, before we wrap up, the standard reminder. The information presented here is for educational purposes only and is purely the opinion of the author. This is not financial advice, nor is it a recommendation to buy or sell any security mentioned.